Hello and welcome to another segment of Interviews That Matter. I'm your host Raj Mehta. Friends, in this segment, we bring those guests who influence our lives. This includes elected officials, policymakers, heads of major organizations, and other dignitaries. It is my sincere hope that the knowledge brought in by these guests will help our community. Today we have such guest. His name is Kirk Cronk. Kirk Cronk is involved with the Easter Seals, which helps the children with disability and also veterans. Let's meet Kirk. Kirk, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for taking time this morning. So tell me something about yourself first. Let's introduce you to our viewers.
Sure. Well, my current position is as the Development and Communications Manager for Easter Seals, New York.
Right.
Specifically, the development side on the Long Island region, which is an area that we're developing and building on.
Mm-hmm.
My background, before that, I had been at the Labor Department as Director of Business Services, which means I worked with businesses that were looking to hire people.
Mm-hmm.
I've been with the County Attorney's Office on the municipal law side, dealing with all the different county departments. And previous to that, I'd been in the technology area. I even actually developed some software at one point for Kraft Foods.
Wow.
Which was actually initially on a floppy disk and then was put on the web for them. And going back before that, I was in the stock brokerage business. So from stock brokerage, when computers were introduced, I computerized my operation from a little book into a computer, and then I got involved in computers and wrote some software. Then because of my computer abilities, I got into doing research, legal research, and that got me the kind of background that ended up with me at the Labor Department, and now with my background of meeting so many businesses out here on Long Island and working with them, now trying to bring them into the fold of helping Easter Seals raise money, get the word out about our programs also, and so it's been an interesting career with a lot of different twists and turns that you could never predict. But sometimes one thing leads to another, and I think this is a good thing that's led to.
Things works out for good anyway. That's
right.
what I believe always, So we'll talk about the Easter Seals a little later, but let's talk about the Department of Labor that you had spent few years there in Suffolk County Department of Labor. What is the function of Department of Labor like?
Well, the County Department of Labor is distinct from the State Department of Labor. Right. So when you're dealing with the State Department of Labor, that's more where you get your unemployment checks, you process that. The County Department of Labor works more directly with the people that are unemployed and helping them find jobs, also helping them get training or education if they're qualified for it. There's all different programs at different times. So what may be existing one year may be different. Maybe more of it, maybe less of it, maybe a new program. As Director of Business Services, I dealt with the businesses that were looking for people. And I used social networking as part of that to expand that, because my goal was, say there's about 6,000 people with the email addresses at the Department of Labor. Right. Of course, we'd send them information about things coming up, a job fair, or if a company was coming to our office to do hiring. But if the people weren't available out of that pool to fill the jobs that that company needed, or to fill all of the jobs, I still wanted that company to get the people necessary. So I developed a social network of about 60 individuals and organizations that also knew people who wanted jobs. And so when I had an event coming up, I would spread the word to them also, so that they would get the word out, and we would bring in more people. And that was important, because you want the company to fulfill its need, because then the company will come back to you instead of going to some agency or something like that. And that gives that pool of 6,000 people other chances. So we had companies come back again and again because of that need.
So Department of Labor, like if somebody is unemployed, they would file for unemployment, and that's how they get their name onto the list somewhere.
That's right.
If somebody is living in Suffolk County, you get those people.
That's the state, but they should also go and they should register at the county Department of Labor,
Oh.
which is in Hauppauge. There's an office there right across from the Dennison building in the North County complex, because there's facilities there. They can do computer training. They can learn Excel and Word and PowerPoint and about a dozen other computer programs directly on site there. There's some that they can access at home, but they need to register there.
Okay, so
And then they become eligible for other programs. For example, one of the things that I administered was the on-the-job training program, where a company will get reimbursed for up to about $5,000 of the training costs. So if you came in and you were eligible and the company hired you, up to about $5,000 of the cost to train you through your salary would be reimbursed to the company. So the company isn't paying really as much of the burden, depending on the size of the company. If it's a small company, up to 90% reimbursement. A larger company, 50%.
so the word eligible, right? That's
Right. The person
that's
would
the
have
key,
to
I
be.
guess.
The person would have to be eligible depending on their unemployment status.
Right.
And also that they were learning something new. In other words, if you were some sort of an engineer and you were being hired as an engineer with the same skill set, of course you wouldn't be eligible because there's no training really required.
Okay.
But if you hadn't been an engineer and you were being hired by a company that was going to train you to be an engineer, then the eligibility would be there. And
So-
of course this is a good tool also for keeping companies in the county and bringing companies into the county. We worked very closely with the IDA when they'd go and make a presentation and say, look, the land and the building and the capital, that's all part of it, but the other part of it is the people to put in that building to
Exactly.
run the company.
Yep.
So we'll help you find people, and then we can offer on-the-job training funds to help train the people and get you up and running.
So people who are not employed for like more than 3 months, 6 months, or something like that, they are the one who are eligible for this type of program, I believe.
Yes, usually I think it's like 6 months or something like that. But it'll depend on the circumstances. So each person should go there to get assessed by an individual counselor,
Okay.
and then they're told what they're eligible for. Veterans get first priority on all of those programs.
And the
yeah.
employers gets the list of all these people, or I mean, how does it work
Well,
from the employer point
the
of view?
employer has an opening, right? They'll say,
Right.
we have this opening. Do you have anyone?
Right.
Gives us an opportunity to recommend some people.
Okay.
They don't have to take those people, but
Right.
they should, evaluate them because they know that those people will be eligible for the program.
Right.
If they pick somebody from the outside, they have to send them into us to be evaluated to see whether that person is eligible. Right? I mean, the company can still hire someone who isn't eligible, but they won't get the reimbursement.
And this is a tax credit, right? Company gets a tax credit, or
No, not a tax
Is
credit.
it
They
cash?
actually get the reimbursement of the salary up to a certain dollar amount per hour.
Oh, okay.
Whether it's $11 an hour or whatever it is.
Oh.
So
And then-
it's a direct reimbursement. You laid out this much money, you're eligible for 90% reimbursement on that, so you'll get 90% of what you paid them over that period of time.
Okay, so it's statewide basically. This program is statewide program.
It's a statewide program, yes. It's funded by federal funds, but it's operated that way through the different, and you can't really say counties because it's operated by what they call workforce investment boards.
Right.
And Suffolk has its own workforce investment board, but in Nassau, Hempstead has a workforce investment board, Oyster Bay has a workforce
Oh.
investment board. So it's not, and upstate they have some workforce investment boards which cover several counties.
Okay, so basically employer has to apply for something.
That's right.
Employer has
They can go to the Workforce Investment Board or the Labor Department, and there's an application.
Right.
It's a request for qualifications,
Okay.
and they'll fill that out, and they'll say, this is what we want to do. We need to hire people for this position. This is the training that we're going to give them. You
Okay.
have to specify what the training is, who's going to do the training, that we have qualified people that are going to do the training, or that we're going to bring in qualified people to do the training. And then they get approved, and then the individuals get approved.
So unless companies give training, you don't get this.
That's right. It's,
It's
if a person doesn't require training,
Then there is nothing there.
there's nothing there. And this is basically focused at STEM companies, science, technology, engineering, manufacturing. You know, a pizzeria, though the pizza may be good, it's not really going to qualify.
Right.
But the manufacturer will. And here on Long Island, we have 3,300 manufacturing companies, and people don't even realize that because
Wow.
there's no smokestacks. You don't see parts going in a vehicle coming out.
Right,
We're
right,
making the parts
Right.
that are going to go into that other. You know, we're making parts here on Long Island that are competing with parts made in China.
Right. Yep.
And price-wise, and of course our quality is much better because there's direct quality control that you have here that you don't if you have it manufactured overseas.
Right. The cost is a big difference, though.
Yeah, well,
That's where the
now with the
problem
new
is.
manufacturing techniques, we're matching it, and it gives us an advantage because we don't have to ship it from China.
Right. Yeah.
No, if
Transportation
it's manufactured on Long Island, they need to go to Ohio. It has to go from Long Island to Ohio. It doesn't have to go from China
Right.
to Ohio.
Right,
You know,
right,
with the
yeah.
cost of fuel and so forth, that makes a big difference.
So that's the majority of the function that Department of Labor does here.
That's right. You know, they have that plus they have their own education programs that they'll send people out to maybe Stony Brook to learn program management or that type of thing.
Oh yeah. Okay, and that is also cost reimbursement.
With something like that, since it's involving a college or an educational institution, the Department of Labor will be paying the tuition for that
Okay.
program. And of course, that's for qualified individuals. That's always the caveat, which is why you go in there and you get evaluated, and they say, okay, you're qualified for this, you're qualified for that, and then it depends on funding. You know, there may be a list, a waiting list.
Oh.
Like I said, the veterans always go to the front of the list.
So veterans have the priority.
Veterans go to the front of the list on everything.
Oh,
You know,
everything.
they have the priority on that.
Oh yeah. Okay, and there are enough population here in Long Island, veterans.
Veterans, matter of fact, it's an interesting thing. Suffolk County has the highest percentage of veterans population of any county in New York State,
Wow, interesting.
and by a good margin. You know, it's like 7-point-something% to the next highest county, which is like 5-point-something%. And we're the 13th highest county in the nation.
in the nation
In the
has
nation,
veteran
yeah,
population.
I actually looked up those figures because we were applying at one point for a grant for veterans, and so I did the research and I said, "Wow, we have the need, and we're high up there on the list." Like I say, number 1 in New York, and by a decent margin, and number 13 in the nation.
Wow.
You wouldn't think that, but there it is.
So now I know. I mean, there are a lot of job fairs for veterans, and we do attend those job fairs. You know, try to figure out if there is a match in the skills and all that. But then Department of Labor also can step in
That's
into many of these things, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
that can help.
I know a lot of the manufacturers
Right.
that we dealt with like to hire vets because they feel they're good employees.
Right.
You know,
Right. Discipline.
Yes, they're
You know,
disciplined.
basically.
They know how to follow instructions.
Right.
They know how to get trained because they've done it in the military. Sometimes
Right.
it's not a direct thing, but there are some, positions in the military that do translate to civilian work. Often the veteran doesn't realize that.
Right. Right.
So we kind of, they've kind of ferreted out. They ask the questions. Well, yeah, that's your title, but what did you do in that title? Oh, you did this? Well, that's equal to this position in civilian life.
So Department of Labor helps there also, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
They
In
work a
getting
lot
it.
with veterans, and that's one of the things we also do with the with Easter Seals. We work with the veterans a lot. Yeah.
So success of Department of Labor is basically putting more people on jobs. Taking on-
Yes,
on-
the
taking
success
off-
defined from that is getting people work.
Getting-
If we're reducing that 6,000 to 5,000 to 4,000, and unemployment has been coming down here on Long Island.
Right.
And so one of the things I tell employers is that they should be doing their hiring now, because right now you have a bigger pool and more of a selection. You want to hire people when there's 7% unemployment because you have a better selection.
Choice.
If you wait till unemployment's down to 4%, the only people that are left are the ones that the other people didn't want.
Right.
So do your hiring now, even if you have to stretch a little bit, to get the quality kind of people that you want now.
So I think it's good for the employers really to take advantage of these programs, because they do get some financial benefits out of this.
Absolutely.
People don't know many times. See, people don't know. People just look at outside, put an ad, and they hire people from there. But
there are tax credits for hiring veterans.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
there are tax credits.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
And these are different programs than Department of Labor.
Yes, it's a state program, but the Department of Labor can help them enroll in them.
Oh yeah.
We'll give them the information. It's they can get it from the State Department of Labor, or the county one. We'll give them the information on how to get the tax credits for hiring veterans.
So everything starts from registration.
Yeah,
Whether
yeah.
you are a person looking for a job, or a person you want to
Or
hire
a company,
somebody.
right? You should be calling up and saying, "Hey, what's available?" The department tries to reach out, but they don't have the kind of marketing budget. So, best thing, if you're a person looking for work, make a call, drop in, take the tour. It's a great fellow over there who does a lot of the tours, John Sarno, and they should ask for him, and he'll direct them in the right direction. And then the businesses should see the business services unit and ask what's available. Say, well, this is my business. How can you help me? And they'll be happy to.
And they also have a list available, right? Online, you can also search for the online people.
The jobs that are available
certain
and so forth, and
Okay.
yes, and look for people. Yes.
category of people, and you can also look
Yeah,
for
the technology is there. Sometimes the job matching is not as accurate as it could be because of the parameters that are
Right,
set.
right.
So sometimes
Right.
you get a lot of things that don't necessarily apply.
Right.
But people to people is the best way. We once had a tour coming through. When you first sign up, they take you on a little tour, and the tour came through, and a representative from Southland Corporation was there, which is the parent company of 7-Eleven.
Okay.
Not the little franchise, but the parent company. And they were going to be doing some expansion on Long Island.
Okay.
So he came, and I lent him some space in my office to do some of his work. And he was there, and the tour came through, and I said, "Would you like to meet some of those people?" He says, "Yeah, some of them want to meet me. I'll be happy to." So I went in, I saw the tour group. There was about 30 people in the tour group. 4 people wanted to meet him, so we met the 4 people. 2 of them ended up as assistant managers,
Wow. Okay.
working for the corporate.
Working for the corporate directly.
Corporate, not the local one. So it was their first and probably their last day at the center. But
Wow.
they were there at the right time. They took the opportunity. I always told people, when you come to that center, I know some people dress down because they're just going to be sitting on the computer, but you never know who's going to walk in there.
Oh, okay.
So always be ready for an interview.
Always be ready for interview, and always
have
and
your updated resume. Be dressed for an interview because you may meet your potential employer in the hallway.
You never know.
I was at Stony Brook University one time, and they did a seminar, and they brought in 3 business classes, and they had a panel of 4 alumni who were all HR managers for big companies. One of them was Brookhaven National Lab, and that type of thing.
Okay.
And so they asked them questions and this and that and the other thing, and then I kind of raised my hand. I said, I said to them, because they did all those things about what to put on a resume and what to do in an interview, and I said, in effect, isn't this an interview here today? Potentially these students could get a job, and they said yes, and but they hadn't dressed for it. The students, they were dressed like regular college students in their jeans and whatever, but in front of them were potentially their next employer. And one of the employers said, that's right. The best jobs I ever got were referrals. Didn't have to do with this resume or it was people that knew him,
Right.
that liked him, that knew the kind of things he did, and then offered him a job.
Right.
So you always want to, have your best foot forward because you never know who that person's going to be.
Yep. You got to, and networking is the key, I guess.
That's right.
You got to
That's right.
keep networking all the time.
Yeah.
Yep. Kirk, we'll take a short break, and we'll be
Sure.
right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Interviews That Matter. I'm your host Raj Mehta. We are having a conversation with Kirk Cronk. Kirk, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about the Easter Seals. Okay, Easter Seals is a nationwide organization and providing services to needy children.
That's right.
So let's elaborate on that and
Sure.
what are the different functions of Easter Seals and how you got involved in that.
Okay. Well, Easter Seals has been around for about 90 years nationwide.
Okay.
It was started by a gentleman who had a family member that got into an accident and needed help, and that inspired him to do that. He gave up his business and went into it. And Easter Seals, of course, is known for aid to children with development problems, children with autism, both adults and children with disabilities. But we were also doing a lot of work, and we have been for a while, with veterans, unemployed veterans, homeless veterans. So we sort of cover things from early childhood to the Veterans Program. That if you ever have some time, I'd love to take it to our school up in the Bronx, where we have the developmental program for children. And it's absolutely wonderful up there. You know, preschool children that had problems speaking, and just living, and you never see so many smiling children, and we have a really good ratio. I mean, there's a teacher and 2 aides for 8 children. You know, that kind of thing, and it's really a good program. With our veterans program, we've been doing a lot of work with, because you know, when you think of a homeless veteran, often this is not just a homeless veteran, it's a homeless veteran and his family. You know, there's a story of one former Marine who, with his wife and children, had to ride the subway to keep warm.
Oh boy.
Because they lost their housing.
Oh boy.
You know, so it's a bigger picture than just you know, a veteran. So we've been working very hard to get them jobs and to get them, because we don't want to just put them in a shelter.
Right.
We want them to get the job, to get their own permanent housing. We don't want them dependent. We want to help them become independent, because that's what they want.
Right.
You know. So those are the things that are going on. We've expanded. We've been very active with that program in the city and upstate. We're now expanding it on Long Island. We have a program we've set up in Elmont, in an American Legion Hall in Elmont, and eventually that'll be coming also out to Suffolk County. So that's something that's growing, and it's something that I'm putting some time in working. You know, we've got fundraising going on to help that. We've got a comedy show going on at that American Legion on March 21st.
Okay.
Laughter is a comedy series, and people can support that way. We've got a walk that we're doing at Bethpage State Park at March 28th and excuse me, May 28th.
May 28th.
It's a little early to be marching or walking around. May is not much more comfortable. And our gala in the city, which is going to be emceed by Heather Mills, and a vocalist, Colin Hay, is going to be singing there. That's going to be at number 4 World Trade Center, which is one of the new buildings on the site. It hasn't actually been officially opened, the building, but they're opening it up for our gala.
Oh, wow.
And it, of course, overlooks the site of the new buildings going up and so forth. So it's sort of a historic, sad historic place, but it's a historic place. So we're very excited about all the things going on at Easter Seals.
How Easter Seals get funded? How do you fund these programs?
Well, of course, some of the funding for, say, child development comes from government grants.
Okay.
Okay. And so under those circumstances, the parents aren't paying, it's covered by grants. But a lot of the work we do, especially with veterans and so forth, we raise money for it.
Oh, you raise
through through different fundraisers and development work by people like myself and a lot of other good people. And we have boards that which are usually business people, people active in the community, who help us raise the money in the local areas. We're looking for some good people to be on the local board out here on Long Island. We're looking to put together a board specifically to support the veterans programs. So if people are interested in getting involved in that, I'd love to hear from them.
So, you know, if someone has a child which is who is a disabled, has a problem, they normally register at the state government, and then state refers to Easter seals, or
Often they're referred to by the state.
By the
If they don't know for sure about it, they can always go to our website and go to the people that run our programs, and they'll help to guide them through it. They can go to the website, which is ny.easterseals.org.
Okay.
Because it's Easter Seals. If you just go to the Easter Seals website, that's national.
Yes.
What you want to go is if you're going to Google it and then you don't know, forget it. Just put Easter Seals New York, and that'll get you to New York programs. And then on the web page, it'll show the different programs for children and disabled and veterans, and you'll see all the.
So either you go through your website or you can go through the state. Either way, it's the same.
The state, yes, may refer you to
Maybe
our program,
you
or to
probably
something
will
else.
refer them to state programs or whatever.
That's right. We can say, well, yeah, you're qualified. Let's get you enrolled, and
Right.
We'll of course help guide them through it.
How long you have been here with this place?
With Easter Seals,
Yeah, it's
since January.
in January.
Yeah,
Pretty new.
it's a new gig for me, and
New gig
but
for
I'm
you.
very happy to do it.
Okay.
When I left my last job, Barbara Kent, who's publisher of The Corridor, she sat down with me. She said, "Kirk, what do you want to do with the rest of your life?" And I thought about it for a minute, and
Right.
I said, "I want to make things better," and certainly working with Easter Seals helps that.
Okay.
We can't make the whole world better, but we can make things better for people that we come in contact with.
Right.
And there's certainly an opportunity to do that, and it's a good kind of work. You feel good at the end of the day.
You're using your business acumen, basically,
That's right.
business context that you have developed throughout to try to raise
That's
money.
all those computer skills and finance skills and government skills and business contacts. It all kind of came together, and Easter Seals is the beneficiary of that. And I'm very happy that they are.
And you are the only one in Long Island?
There's a lady, Nora, who works out of our city office, who also works on the on New York, on Long Island.
Right.
But she's in the city office. I'm the fellow who gets in the car and will go and talk to people and meet with groups and that type of thing.
Right,
Because we don't have a huge staff. Out of every dollar that we raise above the cost of raising that money, 90 cents out of a dollar goes to programs.
Goes to the program. Huh?
Right.
Okay, that's good.
So if you went to our gala and you bought a $500 ticket and your dinner cost $50, out of the $450 above that, 90 cents out of the dollar goes to programs.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty good. So that's a good.
That's a good ratio,
That's
and
a
we
good
like to
ratio.
keep it that way.
Right. Yeah. So cost is hardly 10% then.
That's right.
basically, mostly volunteer work. So
What's that?
mostly people are volunteering, or it's like.
There are some volunteers, so of course the members of our boards are volunteers. Actually, they not only volunteer, they usually pledge to help raise money. So they're volunteer plus.
Volunteer plus, right.
So our actual staff, in terms of the people that we hire, most of that cost is teachers or counselors.
Okay.
Teachers in the schools, the aides, the veterans counselors. That's where that money's going.
So you are now, like focusing on veterans on Long Island here?
That's the thing that's going to be growing and expanding.
Right.
We actually have a small preschool over in Sayville on
Okay.
Sunrise Highway
Okay.
that is up and running, and we're going to get that expanded and moving along very nicely, I think. There's two wonderful teachers there, and we have certified teachers. They're not just people that we hired and so forth. We want to put certified teachers in those schools.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you've got the best people to work with the children. It's really important.
Can we walk through one particular case for veteran and one particular case for people with disability, children with disability? Let's walk through that.
Okay, let's say. Okay, well, I don't work on a daily basis with them, but I can give you a pretty good idea.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Okay.
viewers can at least see what is the process basically.
Right. Okay. So say a homeless veteran, let's start there. Okay?
Right.
Okay. We'll make arrangements to find temporary shelter for
How do you find them, first of all? You know, who they find you or you find them?
Well, most of the times they'll find us
They'll find you.
because they'll get referred by
Okay.
somebody who works with veterans. We know we have a very good reputation. At the school we have up in Valhalla, we do almost no advertising. It's full because parents recommend it to other parents.
Okay.
They say, "Hey, you want to send your kids here?" So, you know, like I say, because that's that 90 cents out of a dollar. If we had to spend a lot of money advertising, that would go down.
Right.
You know, advertising, that's me here on your show for free, which are why we're very grateful for it. Okay, so the Veteran Negotiating Council will try and arrange some temporary housing. We have some of that. And then we will try to place them in a job or help them get some training
Okay.
of some kind. You know,
Right.
and at least get them initially working in some way, and then help them progress toward a career.
Okay.
Because you want people to get working. Because the thing that I found over at the Labor Department, employers want to hire people who are working.
Right.
They
Right.
don't want to hire the unemployed. They would rather hire somebody who's working. So even if they're not working at the ideal job, they're working.
They're
Because
working.
that tells
Right.
the employer that this person is somebody who's used to working and will show up.
Right.
And this way you also get some cash in their pockets. So do that, and then we work with them, you know, toward their career goals. You know, trying to help them find some education or training in this type of thing. And you know, people have been very successful that way. There's you know, a number of success stories. You know, what people don't realize is, especially with our newer veterans,
Right.
a lot of them, because in the last few years, of course, the economy hasn't been that great. A lot of them went into the military because there were no job opportunities.
Right.
So
Right.
they're usually from poorer backgrounds, less education. They still went, they serve their country, but it's not like, say, a Vietnam era veteran who maybe had a college degree who got drafted. When he came out, he had a college degree, and he had these people had very little when they went in, and when they come out, they have now nothing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so the need for these newer veterans is much greater than even our previous generations of veterans.
Hand holding, basically.
The hand-holding and guidance and
Guidance
showing
and-
them,
right.
you know, this is the way, this is the place to get it, because they didn't have those contacts before.
Right. Right.
So coming out, they don't have them.
Right. Right.
You know, but they do have some skills and they have a record, and they've, you know, served us very well. You know, I have a sort of a saying, you know, I say when, you know, the country has problems, we can always count on the Navy SEALs. When the Navy SEALs come out of the service and they need some help, they come to the SEALs. So, you know, with children with development problems, you know, they'll usually get referred after being evaluated by the state or the county, and referred to one of our programs. And often that's, you know, totally funded, but they're also the preschool where people can, with their own funds, enroll the child, but if the child has some problems, we can handle that too. I mean, the school in Sayville will take children in diapers.
Oh yeah. Wow.
You know.
Okay.
So, you know, we're not looking for students who are perfect students. We're looking for the imperfect student. We're looking for the child who has a problem, has a need,
Right.
because that's what we're there for.
Right.
You know, if they have all kinds of money and they're doing great, they can go to a prep school or something. You know, they don't need Easter seals, but the people that do need Easter seals need us a lot,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's why we're there.
And you start from, you know, I mean, you continue helping them until they get certain stage.
That's right. We try and bring them to the. We've had a great deal of success in bringing a lot of them up to the point where they're able to enter the general school population.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, which is wonderful. You know, some of them, of course, are going to continue to need things. You know, if a child has autism or something like that. But often it's a child is, for other maybe emotional reasons or something, isn't talking, doesn't know how to be sociable with other children.
Right.
We teach them these skills so that they can enter a regular classroom. because that'd be the best thing for them if they can do that.
Oh yeah, of
You
course.
know,
I mean, if
you
they
know.
go to the regular
Yeah.
life, I mean, they can live their regular life. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the best thing.
And of course, we work with people with disabilities. We have a team that we sponsor. It's a wheelchair rugby team,
Okay.
and they play rugby in those wheelchairs as rough house as regular rugby players do.
Wow, interesting.
I know if you've ever seen bumper cars, that's kind of the way they do it with these wheelchairs,
With
and
this
they actually
wheelchair.
knock each other down and so forth.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they're very aggressive players, and these people who are most of them are like quadriplegics, who maybe had no other reason to live. Now they're members of a team, and they have team pride and a sense that hey, they can do something, and win the game,
Right.
and so that's very important, to get people involved in doing things, because there's nothing worse than sitting at home and being dependent. This way here, they feel, hey, for part of my life, I'm independent, and I'm actually, star of the game. I can.
Encourages them to do something else, and
That-
that can lead. You never know where it can lead to.
That's right. If I can
Because
do
everybody
this,
is, they are skilled. I mean, they are just depressed basically.
that's right.
So you increase their morale and increase their enthusiasm, things like that,
That's right.
right? And that's a key, I guess, for
Mhm.
that population basically. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the viewers?
Yes. Of course, we need your support.
Okay.
And you can go to the website, or you can email me, KCRONK, at eastersealsny.org, and get all the information you need on that. That local support is key. We're looking for board members on Long Island. I'm reaching out to different groups, and which is why I'm on shows like this. I was on the Labor Lines radio show the other week, reaching out to the members of organized labor. The people on Long Island are very patriotic, and I know that they'll rise to the challenge of helping their veterans.
Right.
And of course, a lot of them don't realize the need, and we've said that veterans are a higher percentage of the population in this county, Suffolk County, and they're a high percentage in Nassau also, than any other county in the state. And that tells you that. And veterans don't ask. They often don't tell about it.
Right.
There was a story, one man who was sitting with his father, and they were watching Saving Private Ryan. He didn't know until that moment that his father finally told him that, yeah, he was there on that beach in Normandy.
Oh,
Veterans don't talk about their experience, because
wow.
often those experiences were not very nice.
right. Right.
So we have to be cognizant of what they've done, and we have to take care of them. That's our responsibility. They did their responsibility to us. We have a responsibility to them. Easter Seals wants to be part of filling that responsibility, just as we have for children with development problems and disabilities.
We have your email and website on the screen. So if anyone is interested in joining or helping you, Easter Seals, then
Yes.
definitely they will.
Yeah, give me a call. Help in any size, shape, or form, and we'll be very grateful.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, comments, you can email me at rajmitv@gmail.com. That's again rajmitv@gmail.com. You can watch our prior shows on YouTube at youtube.com/Infosys International. Again, that's youtube.com/Infosys International. Until next time, have a great week. Thank you.